So what are we doing? Just a memory?
Yeah, when you think about your dad, what's the first story that comes to mind?
So on this Father's Day, I'm actually standing in the corner that was dedicated to my dad. Right here, we actually have his eulogy. On the other side, we have, some memories, the championship team that he was a part of. My dad is obviously no longer with us, but this true strength of a father is life lessons that you give your children at the time that they might not realize till later on in life. And as I'm growing up, getting a little bit older, there are things that I really, really appreciate. And if I'm thinking back, I played hockey growing up, and one year I had Sunday morning practices at 6 o'clock in the morning. And what that meant was the arena was half an hour away from the house, and I had to get there half an hour early, which means I had to be at the arena no later than 5:30 and leave the house no later than 5 o'clock in the morning. That meant that we had to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get ready, get dressed and be on the road. That wasn't something that was 100% easy for him, but it was something that he did because it was very important to me, and it was important that he would instill that work ethic in me.
Okay, so one memory I have of my dad is that he would always play board games with me. Any board game, you name it. The trouble is that I am both a sore loser and a sore winner. So when I was a kid, I would beg my dad to play games with me. He would set up the chessboard and we would play, and he would beat me. And I would scream and throw a tantrum and tell him that I was mad at him and I never wanted to play with him again, and why wouldn't he let me win? And he would just laugh and tell me that if he let me win, then it's not really a win. He just sets up the board again and says, come on and let's play, and we would just get up there and play again. But he always just told me, just no matter how many times you keep losing, you can just keep trying again.
When I think about my dad, I think about a thermos full of coffee, early mornings, and a road trip. My dad was always the first to start coffee, and didn't matter the time of day, 3:30, 4:30, 6:30, he was off and started the equipment, and he taught me the love of a good road trip and being on the road.
The one thing that I'm super thankful about my dad is when I was growing up playing hockey, he would always break up in the morning, take me to my games, and just sit there in the cold rink and watch me struggle to play hockey.
My dad started out in life as a chef, and then he couldn't make enough. In order to make more money, he had to go out of the country, and he had 2 growing up boys. All our lives, he always made all these gourmet meals. It was so great. And I think about his recipes sometimes and try to replicate them, and I absolutely can't. That's some of the memorable things I can say.
My dad is my everything. He's my superhero. He's my role model, and he's always there with love and guidance. My dad is a doctor. He runs his own clinic, and I still remember those days when he used to bring candies, chocolates. He has done a lot of things for me to make my future bright. In the past time, we were not financially good at that time, but he sacrificed a lot to make our future bright. He did not only for me, for my younger brother and for my cousins. He paid all my college's fees, tuition fees, and he took care of all my expenses during my whole life, and trying to give him everything back, that as much as I can.
Anytime that I start working on cars or stuff like that, he's always there to help me out with anything, with taking out rusty bolts or stuff like that. He's always got a hand to help out, and it's very nice that he's always there with me to fix cars, because that's one of my bigger passions, so it's always nice to share that passion with him.
My dad is the reason that I became a mechanic, probably because of him and my uncle always working in the garage and always tinkering around with cars and stuff like that. I was able to find what I was interested in. I was always able to hang out with my dad, and whatever he was doing, I was able to tag along and help him do that, or he'd always go bike riding with me, and always made time. Even after work, he was dead tired, but he still went biking with us, and camping, fishing. Every weekend we'd go somewhere in the summertime, road trips. Yeah, It was pretty awesome.
Lost my dad suddenly, and now it's like 10 years ago. But I have so many different memories and I don't know which one to choose. Because I said in my Mother's Day video, I spent a lot of time with both of my parents. And both my parents, I had different kind of interest that aligned with both of them. I know my dad and I were into Star Trek. And he ended up pushing me. He stood in line to get an autograph from Willa Shatner one time, so I could go get Major Kira from Deep Space Nine's. Dads, especially for little girls, and I was the only girl, kind of are your world. And they teach you how you're supposed to be treated. And my dad taught my mom like gold, and I just hope one day I'm able to find somebody like him.
So I was supposed to be aborted according to the one-child policy in China, but my dad rebelled against it. He wanted me to be born. So my parents lost their career because of me. And then my dad started his own business from scratch. I think it was a really courageous move to give up your jobs for a child that bears so much risk. I really appreciate that.
Goes without saying, the greatest dad ever. He's gone far above and beyond for everybody in his life for many years, including me. I'm very blessed to have been raised by him and lucky to call him my dad. One time when I was about 12, he was changing a timing chain out in the backyard, -35 wintertime at night. So I went out there and I held the light for him and passed him some tools, and he explained to me how the V8 engine worked, because he raced his own stock car, so he knew a lot about engines. And even in the 40s, he was one of the first ones to put an engine on his bicycle, so that was pretty cool. Then when I graduated from Red River College in auto mechanics, on my ceremony day, it was my dad that actually had handed me my diploma, because he had become president of Red River College, so my diploma has my dad's signature on it, which is a pretty cool thing to have up on the wall in my shop at home. And yeah, I guess I got my mechanical abilities all from him.
So my father is a very supportive person. He's been a giver all his life and never asked anything in return. We were like financially very poor. He decided to leave his family for the family and move to Greece and worked very hard. And what we are today is just because of him.
So a really special memory I have about my dad is my dad basically is the one who convinced me to go to film school. A long time ago, I left my first career. I used to work as a welder, but unfortunately, working as a welder, I was very unhappy. I was going through a depression, and I left that career. And I spent a good couple years trying to figure out what I wanted to do and not really getting anywhere. I always remember this conversation we had where we used to always hang out at his office all the time. And in one of our conversations, I usually go on these tangents on filmmaking or a movie I saw. And in this last one, he stopped me dead in my tracks. He basically brought up the fact that, the only thing I was ever really interested in talking about was movie stuff. And so he told me, if you are only interested in this one thing and this is all you ever want to talk about, maybe you should pursue that as a career option. It never really occurred to me at the time that maybe I should go to film school, but he pushed it on me. He really felt that was what I was meant to do, and if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be pursuing a career in media at all.
When I think of Father's Day and I think of my dad, it brings me back to a lot of the things that we used to do. Up until he passed away a couple of years ago, we went to Jets games multiple times in a year. I used to work with him for 10 years as a roofer. He got me into the working business. He taught me everything that I knew. And then even now, when I'm a father, I had a kid 8 years ago with my wife, and his name's Walker. Everything that I remember that my dad taught me when I was younger, I'm trying to use as much as I possibly can to help raise him. He always put his family first, so I'm trying to do the same thing for him. It's overwhelming to think that he was so much a part of my life, and everything that I got from him in the last 35, even now 35 years, I can't be any more thankful for having him in my life. He was my hero growing up, and to this day, I will try to do everything I can to make sure that he's happy for me.
Most memorable moments, honestly, him reading us our bedtime stories before bed. Bicycle Bear, he read that story to us a billion times, and honestly, I've been trying to hunt it down for my son so I can read it to him and pass on that memory as well. Tobogganing, him almost breaking his tailbone on a jump going down the hill. Bowling with him, honestly, he's our go-to man. He's the man of the hour. We love him incredibly. Yeah, I don't know. Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Thank you, Dad. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, Pop. I love you.
So thank you, Dad. Happy Father's Day.
Love you, Dad. I miss you so much. I hope you're enjoying your life.
Happy Father's Day, Papa.
Happy Father's Day this weekend. Cheers.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. Love you.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Say Happy Father's Day to everyone else as well, too.
So happy Father's Day to all you fathers.
Yeah, I just want to say hi to my dad back home, and I just want to wish you Father's Day, and I hope you and Mom are in good health.
So as I'm remembering my dad on this Father's Day, I remember all the times he brought me to practice, even when it was super, super early. I love you and I miss you. And happy Father's Day to all the other fathers out there.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and just know you're the most special person in your daughter's life. I wouldn't be here without half being from you. Miss ya.
Yeah, so Father's Day for me is an interesting one. Obviously, you know, as many of you probably know, my dad passed away in 2012. My dad, this is actually his name bar from one of his offices back in the days, but my dad started this company with my brother. You know, his spirit is still felt around this building, even though he was never in this building, but you know, he did start the company, and it's a legacy that my brother and I and my family is trying to carry on. Dad really instilled in me a work ethic like no other. I've always prided myself that I'm able to outwork people. I come to work 6 days a week. I don't even feel like I'm working, which drives my wife crazy. But you know, my dad, I remember frequently, it'd be Saturday morning. You know, I'd gone out on maybe the Friday night with some friends. I'd been up late, and my dad would be in my room at like 6:30, 7 o'clock, waking me up and screaming at me to get out of bed because there were kids on the other side of the world in Europe that are already up for hours training for hockey. I was trying to be a hockey player. You know, that mentality is kind of what really drove my dad. Another thing that he always talked to me is that life is made up of short lines, and the people at the front of those lines are the ones that succeed. So to bring it full circle, now me being a dad, you know, those life lessons that I think have served me well throughout my life as a professional athlete and now into the business world are things I really want to pass on to my kids. My dad did like to yell at me quite a bit. I tried to temper my screaming when it comes to my children, but you know, Father's Day for me, like I said, I love being a father. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. But it also is a little bit emotional thinking of my dad and how he's not around anymore. So to all the fathers out there, I wish you a very happy Father's Day. You know, sometimes dads, it's a little tough, but this is our day.